Hello all, welcome. So hopefully you saw that tonight's props are going to be 2 blocks. And if you don't have blocks, you can make do. You can use big books. You can also use rolled up towel. You can also use like a little Amazon box that's kind of full. It's also possible to just wing it. The main thing, we're going to be doing some lunge poses, and so you also may want to have a towel or a blanket or even just flip over your mat for some of our lunge poses if you have sensitive knees. I'm at an Airbnb right now up in Healdsburg where it's very warm. And I'm also not on my normal floor, which has a cushion. So anyway, that's why I thought I might just mention the extra padding for knees if that applies. And the only thing I'll say, if you don't have blocks and you still want to participate, of course, you can also use some rolled up towels. We're going to be starting in a position on our backs using the blocks, but you can kind of just make do with what you have at home. So we'll go ahead and get started. And yeah, we're going to start on our backs. I've done this posture at various times before. So you might have already tried this, and you can, like I said, adjust it with towels or pillows if you don't have blocks. But where we're going to start is by having the block on either the medium or lowest setting. So this is the lowest setting, this is medium. And I'm going to lay onto my block so that it's right at my bra line or right under my shoulder blades. Then I'm going to take the second block and I'm going to rest my head on it. And it takes a minute to get this just so. So take your time, don't rush. And then once I'm in position, we're starting in a back bend. And so you want to make sure it's comfortable. So the higher your head, the less the back bend. So the lower I bring my head, the more my back is in an arch shape. So starting like this is perhaps one of the easiest, or on the lower setting, and then supporting your head, opening the arms, palms up so that the shoulders can open, gravity can begin to pull our elbows and our arms down. You can have the knees bent if that's more comfortable, or you can extend the legs long. And as you're in this shape, you may discover that you want to bring your head down as you adjust in the shape. So you can do so, or you can keep it right where it is. So if it feels like if it feels painful, then something's off. It should feel like a nice stretch in the upper back and in the chest and in the shoulders, but it shouldn't be taking your breath away. Should be a nice antidote to our normal hunched shape or a common hunched shape, looking at phones and computer screens. So as you arrive, feel free to just take some moments to feel your breath, to notice the quality of your breath. And to just be present with your breath. Notice what's moving as you breathe. And notice what has stillness. If anything has started to feel, if you feel any discomfort, see if you can adjust yourself a little bit. See if you can find a way to stay in the shape without it causing pain. A little bit of stretch is okay here, but it certainly shouldn't be painful. We're only going to be here for a few more breaths. Now you can stay right where you are, or for the last few breaths, if you'd like to take some optional additional stretches, one thing you can do is stretch out the arms, spread the fingers, spreading my fingers wide, and then gently bring the arms overhead. And then exhale the arms back down, keeping the thumbs turning toward the floor just ever so gently, which rotates the arms and the shoulders, and bringing the arms very slowly down toward the thighs, engaging the abdominals so you're not just spreading the rib cage, but you're keeping a little bit of muscle energy in the lower abdominals. And then one more time, opening the arms up toward the sky, above the head, I should say. And then exhaling the arms down. And then just pause anywhere where you're feeling the stretch and it feels like a good place to stretch. So gravity will be assisting in this stretch here. And then gently release the arms, palms down, bend the knees, and come gently onto your one hip and move your block out from underneath. And then gently push your way up, seeing if you can be as easy and non-disruptive as possible. And we're going to come to Virasana. So with your blocks, you can sit on one block or you can sit on both blocks. So the knees are bent, and so we're sitting in this shape. And for a moment, let's just place our hands on the block, or rather on our thighs, and begin to, as you feel your sit bones, begin to lengthen the spine in an incremental, just very subtle way, closing the eyes and seeing if you can just lengthen the spine all the way to the crown of the head. Shoulders are gently dropping away from the ears, and you're lengthening both the front of the neck, the sides of the neck, and the back of the neck. Big full breath into the back body, into the belly, and then a nice long exhale. Now slowly open the palms of the hands and begin to outstretch the arms. Keep the fingers wide spread. Keep the ribs gently knitting toward one another and begin to lift the arms. Palms come toward each other. And now lift the chest and the heart up toward the hands. Turn the palms down and begin to move the hands toward the floor, keeping the fingers spread very wide. Bring the fingertips down to the earth and then bring the chin toward the chest. Take a couple of breaths here, just letting gravity stretch the back of the neck. Big long inhale, nice slow exhale. Bring the head back up. Now open the palms up to the sky. Reach the arms up nice and slow, taking a few breaths. And reach the chest, the heart up through the fingertips. Reach, reach, reach. And exhale the hands back down. Nice and slow, lengthening the arms as you go. Beautiful. Chin comes back to the chest. Engage the low belly and gently curl the spine back up, bringing the head back on top of the spine. Bring the fingertips behind the head and now let the skull fall into the fingertips. Keep the elbows wide and let the head fall into your hands. And just stretch the front of the throat and let the back of the neck get a little stretch here, but we're using the strength of our arms to hold the head for the most part. Now bring the head back on top of the spine. Release the hands down to your thighs nice and slowly and gently look out over your left shoulder. Exhale your way back to center and now look over the right shoulder. Back to center. Gently bring the chin to the chest and then dip that left ear over towards left shoulder. Chin back to chest and now dip the right ear towards right shoulder. Nice slow exhales. Chin back to chest and then unfurl the spine, bringing the head back up. And now grab your block and take the block between the hands and engage your core abdominals as you lift the block. Squeeze the block with your hands. Keep squeezing and bring it overhead. If you don't have a block, you could use a book or you can use a pillow. Once you get the block overhead, continue to squeeze. Anchor your shoulders down onto your back. Lengthen both the right and left side of your neck. And then bend your elbows, keeping your elbows up, facing up toward the sky. Keep pressing into the block. And then back up. Feel the abdominals also working as you do this. We'll do 2 more of these, so squeezing the block. Make sure the neck isn't rigid, but it's long. Beautiful, one more time, squeezing the block. Abdominals are engaged so you're not flaring your ribs or flaring your elbows. And then squeeze the block all the way down as you bring it back onto the floor. Beautiful. Now take your left arm in front and then cross it across the body and give a nice shoulder stretch. And release, shoulders up to the ears in a shoulder roll. And second side. And exhale. Now bring both of the blocks to the front of the mat. And this is where you may want to have a blanket or any cushioning under your knees. We're going to be doing some knee work here. So bring the blocks forward of the bodies, or rather forward of the shoulders. And then just take a little dip and you're going to bend your elbows and arch your back. So we're kind of in cow pose, a modified cow pose. And then exhale, round and release the chin toward the chest and push into your hands. Inhale to come to the arched back. Elbows hug in. Exhale, round the spine, chin to the chest, long neck. And one more time, arch the spine, lengthen the chest, lengthen the throat. And then exhale, round the spine. And then continue to bring the hips down toward the heels, keeping the hands up on the blocks. Now, if it's possible, you can release your head down toward the mat, pressing into your hands and feeling some strengthening and some stretching in the shoulders. If that's uncomfortable and your shoulders don't like that, come out a little bit. You can turn the toes under. and just go down less far, or you can remove the blocks. So those are two options if your shoulders don't like this. This is a strong stretch to the shoulders. And you want to keep muscle energy in the arms. So the hands are active, and I'm releasing my head, but my triceps and my forearms and my hands are all very active. On your next inhale, come up, bend the elbows, arch the back, look up. Exhale one more time, round the spine. Release the head toward the mat, stretching the arms. Beautiful. Inhale back up. Bring the blocks underneath the shoulders. And take your right leg back behind you. And just give a few pumps, working that right glute. Now on your next inhale, bring the knee to the nose and squeeze. And then exhale the leg long. Now bring the knee toward the right elbow and squeeze your abdominals. And exhale the leg long. Now back knee to nose, squeeze. Exhale the leg long. And one more time, knee to right elbow, also known as the fire hydrant move. And then exhale the leg long. Now we're going to bring that right leg forward between the blocks. And I'm going to move the blocks forward so that my knee is stacked over my ankle. So my knee's not forward of my ankle, nor is it behind. So you want to adjust so that your ankle is stacked right underneath the knee, and then have your blocks alongside the foot. If you don't have padding, you can also turn your mat under if your back knee is sensitive here. So I'm going to circle my shoulders. I'm actually going to back my blocks back so that I feel like I can have a nice long spine and my blocks are supporting the length in my spine. I'm using an internal rotation of my right leg so it doesn't fly out to the side, but that it's isometrically hugging in. And my back leg is isometrically trying to move forward. So I feel that engagement in my low abdomen, so my abdominals are working. And once I feel situated here, I'm going to take a couple of nice, big, easy breaths. So I'm working, but I want to relax my nervous system here. Lengthening the sides of my neck, the sides of the waist. Nice full inhale, nice long exhale. Feeling that whole stretch here through the hips and the hip flexors. Now I'm going to inhale, and on my exhale, I'm going to lengthen that leg and bring my toes up toward the ceiling. I'm going to move the blocks back behind so that they're underneath my shoulders again. As I do this, I'm isometrically pulling my right leg and my right hip back. So this is a runner stretch. It's also known as half splits. Using the blocks to bring the floor up to us. And if you don't have blocks, you can just be resting your hands on the floor. We're going to inhale forward, bring the blocks back with us. And I'm going to take my left block and I'm going to either place it on the medium setting or the low setting. It's possible you'll want the high setting, but my guess is you'll want medium or low. And I'm going to move it out just a little bit so it's not quite directly under my shoulder, but a little further out. And I'm going to inhale to take a twist to the right. Press down into that left arm and create a solid base so that you can twist your rib cage up to the sky. So we're using the strength in our arm and this added lift of the prop to really create some strength in our abdomen and in the trunk as we twist. Exhale, come back to center, and now take the right block, also a little ways out, and place your hand on it And then we're gonna gently lean over a little bit and come into a twist now to the left. And you can take this into a back bend, and you can even move your block back a little bit further and really take a little back bend here. And then exhale, come forward, bring the block back. And we're gonna bring the back knee up and hop it forward and spin your left foot, your left heel down. So you're at about 45-degree angle with that left foot. So your foot is going the same direction as your knee. Now I'm going to take my right block and place it just behind my left shin. And then I'm going to straighten that front leg. Now let's bring our left hand to our left hip and press down into your 2 feet, press down into your block, and then let that twist you into triangle. Beautiful. And then as you're ready, you can extend the left arm, but really use this grounding in the right hand and in the back foot to twist you and propel you into your Trikonasana. Beautiful. Press down into the right arm and then let that twist your left upper body, your left shoulder, but not your left hand. So we're twisting the front of our chest up toward the sky. Beautiful. Put a micro bend in that front knee. Exhale that left hand down. Hop your back foot in a foot or so. And now we're going to come into Ardha Chandrasana, or half moon pose. So I'm going to take my block and I'm going to bring it up to the upper right corner of my mat, about a foot or so to the angled off to the right beyond my right pinky toe. And then I'm going to step onto my right foot. Once again, place the hand on the hip. Press down into the standing foot. Engage that standing foot. Press into that right hand and then twist the upper body. Engage the back leg, the glute, and the abdominals. And then extend the left arm up to the sky. So hugging in toward the midline. Standing leg is strong. Pressing down into that right hand. Now let's put a micro bend in the right knee. Bring that back foot down. And then gently turn the foot forward. Walk your blocks back so they're alongside your front foot. And we're going to come into pyramid pose with the back, with a flat back. So it's a modified pyramid pose. So you're anchoring your right hip to the wall behind you and your left hip forward. So we're trying to even our hips. Belly button moves toward the spine. The sides of the neck grow long and the shoulder blades slide down the back and our back strengthens here. We're pressing down into the block to create strength in our arms and strengthen the shoulder blades. Beautiful. Put a micro bend in that front knee, engage the belly and step forward into a forward fold. Bring a block right in front and place the hands on the block and come to a flat back. Lift all 10 toes, reach down into your heels, and then place all 10 toes back on the mat so that they're evenly gripping the floor. Take an inhale to lengthen your spine, and on your exhale, fold forward. On your inhale, come to a flat back again. And on your exhale, fold forward. Inhale to flat back. Now move the block out of the way, bend the knees, place the hands on the mat, and step back into a plank pose. Take an inhale, and on your exhale, lift the hips up and back to come into down dog. Inhale the knees down to the mat, and bring your blocks once again underneath the shoulders. Bring the right knee, make sure it's underneath the right hip, and let's lift the left leg back behind us. And then do a few pumps with the glutes. Keep both hip points facing down toward the mat. Great, now stop that, and then on your next inhale, bring the knee to the nose and squeeze. Exhale the leg long. Exhale, or bring the knee to the left elbow and squeeze. Then leg returns. Knee to nose, squeeze. Exhale the leg long. And one more time, knee to left elbow and squeeze. Leg goes long. Now inhale that left foot forward and we'll set up once again for our lunge. So I have tender knees, so I'm going to put a towel under my right knee. And then I'm going to set up so I'm really stacking my left ankle under my left knee. Now I'm going to lengthen my spine and really sit into this low lunge pose, but I'm using muscle energy right now to keep the legs in a scissor hugging action toward one another. So we're not just dumping in the hip and my knee is spreading out to the left. I'm hugging that knee in, and my back knee is isometrically pulling forward. So it's like your back leg and your front foot are isometrically pulling toward one another. And then I'm going to set my shoulder blades on my back, and I'm going to really lift my chest. All this work down here is creating a very stable base. Shoulders melt away from the ears, and I'm going to lift my heart up to the sky. Beautiful. Take a nice inhale, and on your exhale, we're going to send the hips back. Bring the toes up toward the ceiling and walk the blocks back. I'm going to sit my left hip back and try pulling your left pinky toes back at the same rate that you're pulling your big toe back. Sometimes the foot sickles in, but imagine both sides of the front of the foot moving back toward the chest at the same rate. Taking some breaths. This is typically an intense stretch. Beautiful. Inhale to come forward, walk your blocks back, and let's place the right block inside the left foot. It's maybe 6 or 8 inches away, so it's underneath my shoulder. And I'm going to really press my hand down into the block and then use that to ricochet and come into my twist. Bringing my left arm up and pressing down into my right hand. Press back down with the top of your right foot, so your back foot is also pressing down, and we use that for the strength to engage our torso up toward the sky. Left knee hugs in as we hug our rib cage toward the left knee. Beautiful. If you feel a shake because you're working, that's a good thing. And then exhale, come back down. Bring your left block now a little ways even further out from the left foot. I'm going to bring my left hand onto the block and then inhale my right arm up to the sky and then take a little back bend if you like. Beautiful. And then exhale, both hands down to the floor, move the blocks out of the way, and step back into down dog. Come down onto your knees, and we're gonna do a child's pose. So there's a couple options. One, you can just do good old-fashioned child's pose as you like. Another is to place the block down and rest your head on the block. And another is to sit on one block and then rest your head on the other. So if it's easier than going down all the way into child's pose, you can practice just kind of for fun using the blocks as restorative, supportive props. If you have one cheek on your block, let's go ahead and turn to the other direction to even out the neck. And let your breath be nice and full here. Let it widen your back as you breathe. And on your next inhale, slowly come out, feeling the way your spine and skeleton move as you come out of this shape. And then bring both blocks to the top of the mat. You can put them anywhere. And then turn the toes under and come into a little squat. And then press your hands down on the floor, lengthen the back of the legs to come into a forward fold. And then round your spine to come all the way up to standing. Head comes last. And set the shoulders down on the back. So come up to the top of the mat and grab one block. Space your feet at hips distance, so that's about a couple of fists between your feet. Bend your knees and place the block between the thighs, so we're going to come into chair pose. So bend the knees, and for a moment, just let your hands gently rest on your thighs. Hug the block, and imagine you're going to shoot the block out behind you, so you're using an inward rotation of the thighs. Now bring your right arm alongside your ear, and then your left arm. Now bring the arms behind you, have the palms face one another or face up. And now bring the arms back alongside the ears. Inhale to come up to standing. Leave the block there for just a moment. Just to give the legs a rest. Now imagine the muscles that it would take to scoot the block forward. And now engage the muscles that it would take to scoot the block back behind you to like shoot it out that way. Keep those muscles engaged, and once again, come down into chair pose. And now grab your block. Now, if there's any sensitivity on your low back, then don't do this part with the second block. Bring the block out in front of you, then hug your shoulder blades onto your back. Now, bend the elbows and bring the block up overhead and forward and overhead and forward, overhead, and forward, engaging the abdominals, and overhead. Beautiful. Now we'll bring the block down, set it down, and release the thigh block, and then come into a forward fold. Bring your hands to your hips, press into your feet, and come up to standing. Shoulders up to the ears, and release the arms and just shake out any tension. And then we'll come to a wide stance and bring your blocks just on the in front of your shins, more or less. and come into a forward fold. And where we're going with this is we're gonna go side to side. So you may be somebody who has creaky knees and you don't wanna go very low, so you just go this low. Or you may like to go all the way down, in which case you just use your hands. So we're gonna go side to side here, stretching out the inner groin, the inner legs and the groin. And using the props here to bring the floor up. All right, let's do one more each side. Great, and then come back to center. And then bring your block underneath your heart. And press your hands down into your block, the heels of your hands. Press down into your feet, lift all 10 toes, and then place your toes down. Feel both the inner and the outer heel reaching down into the earth, and lengthen your spine. So right now we're not folding forward, we're reaching our spines forward so it's a flat back. So take another long inhale here, and then on your exhale, round the spine. And you can keep your hand on your block, or you can bring your hands underneath your shoulders, bringing the crown of the head toward the mat. Inhale back up to a flat back, and place your left hand on the block. So make sure it's right underneath your heart. Press down into your hand and engage that arm, and then twist yourself up to the right, taking a twist. With your top hand, imagine that you're pressing that top hand into a wall. So that might help really use your belly to twist you up. Pressing down through that right hand or that left arm, which is on the floor or on the brick. Beautiful. Exhale that hand down. Switch hands and place your right hand underneath your heart. Press down through that arm, muscle energy in that right arm, and then twist that left arm up to the sky. Now that top hand, imagine you're pressing into someone. That should engage your belly muscles. The standing hand reaches down and your shoulders are lengthening away from the ears. Belly is hugging in. Beautiful. Exhale back down. Now move the block out of the way and heel toe your feet together. Or not together, rather wider than your hips. And we're gonna come into yoga squat. So my heels are in and my feet are out. And then I'm gonna come down into yoga squat, and you can use either one or both bricks underneath your seat. So the pose without the blocks looks like this. And the pose with the block, or both blocks or a pillow, looks like this. So once you're in your shape, bring the hands into namaste and use your elbows to push into your thighs, and use your thighs to push back into your elbows. So it's a strong posture. Make sure your shoulders don't creep up towards your ears so your back stays long. You're also strengthening the middle and upper back. So this is a really great strengthening for multiple parts of the body at once. Beautiful. Now exhale the hands and then come onto your seat. So we're going to come into Navasana or boat pose. And I promise I'll give a nice, long, luxurious Shavasana tonight. So we're gonna work our cores a little bit here because we've got the blocks. It's such a great opportunity. So bring the block between the thighs. So knees are bent, feet are on the floor, and the block is between the thighs. And you can just start by squeezing the block. You'll feel already probably a shake in the thighs. Now come up onto tiptoes. You can work right here. You can also use your hands underneath your thighs. So these are two options. You can also take the feet off the floor. I'm going to move my block up a little closer to my knees. I think it's a little easier. It's not jamming me in the belly. So I'm hugging in. Again, hands can be under the thighs or toes can be down, or you can bring the arms alongside or outstretched. So hugging that block and feeling that muscle energy. We'll take 3 more breaths here. Beautiful, and release. Bring the block alongside the mat, and then we're gonna come onto our back. So take a nice, slow and easy roll onto your back, and just take a moment to enjoy being on your back. We've just been strengthening our back quite a bit, so it might just feel really good to let the muscles be held and massaged by the floor, by your mat. So a nice, steady breath, a relaxed breath. And then let's grab the block and place it between the feet. Doesn't matter which way. So use your monkey feet to hold the block and squeeze. Now you're going to grab the block with your hands and you're going to lengthen your legs out and your block behind you. Now you're going to replace the block with your feet and do it again. So you're going to go back and forth like this. Now, if you have any neck issues, just leave your head on the floor. And if you have any low back issues, just don't bring your legs past hip, just anywhere in the zone where it hurts the low back. So let's do 2 more. Great. And then release the feet to the floor, release the block, and just with the knees bent, just take a rest here for a moment. And now we're going to do a restorative bridge or supported bridge pose. So walk your feet underneath your knees and not very far from your sits bones. Press all your toes down into the mat, and then both the outer and the inner heel connect with the mat too. So that should turn on the abdominals a little bit and fire up the legs just a little bit. So now we're going to press into our feet, lift the lower body, and then place the block underneath the sacrum. So you don't want it under the low back. You want it underneath the hips in the sacral area. And if you like, you can have it up on the medium size height. So once you arrive here, adjust your shoulders so your neck gets to remain long. Lift your chin away from your chest, just enough that you're not compressing the neck and the throat. And then just take some deep breaths here, enjoying the stretch now, both to the abdominals that we worked and also to the low back. You can imagine the muscles that would engage if you were to squeeze the block between the thighs right now. And rather than turning on all those muscles, you can just turn them on at like 10%. So it's keeping the knees from flying out to the side. It's engaging the inner thigh muscles. And see if you can keep the upper body and the neck and the throat and the heart from tightening while you do that imaginary muscle exercise. So that's a lot of mental work. So now you can stay right here if you like, or we can, you can lengthen your left leg, which lengthens the hip flexors here and the hip. And then replace that foot, and now we'll lengthen the right leg, lengthening that whole right side of the body and hips. And then let's replace that foot. Both knees are now bent, feet are on the floor. So we're gonna now do supported shoulder stand. So I like to use 2 blocks for this because it feels a little steadier for me. If you feel supported wherever you are with 1 block or wherever you are, feel free to just go ahead and take your supported shoulder stand by bringing 1 knee up and then the next, and then extending the legs up toward the sky. If you'd like, you can get your 2nd block or any additional height. And make sure that it's really properly under the sacrum. And whenever I bring my legs up, I almost always need to adjust where my hips and my low back is on the prop. So make sure that the shoulders are on the floor or on the mat, and they're not holding tension and also creeping up towards your ears. Your neck stays nice and long. Your face can feel relaxed here. And your hands are resting gently on the floor. Your feet can balance right over your hips. If your knees are bent, that's fine too. But you don't want your feet so far forward that you're really trying to hold yourself with your abs. So if need be, you just bend the knees, keeping the ankles as much over the hips as possible. And let's do some ankle circles. Let's flex the ankle and point the toes and just get some circulation in the ankles and feet and toes. And then we'll bend both knees and bring the right leg down, and then the left leg. And then lift the hips and move the props out of the way. Great. So with the knees bent and the feet on the floor, just take a moment to feel the backs of the waist and the upper back and the shoulders on the mat. And then let's hug the knees into the chest. And then let the knees go wide and hug the thighs in toward the sides of the rib cage. And then gently rock side to side, massaging the low back. Go nice and slow. And as you go to one side, you can even gently roll onto that side, letting the head and the neck get a nice slow movement as you go. Let your breath carry you gently, getting a nice stretch in the hips. and the outer hips. And then come back to center and bring the feet down to the mat and grab your blocks. We're gonna come into a supported bound ankle pose. So I'm gonna bring my blocks out to the side. I'm gonna bring the soles of my feet together, and then I'm gonna support my thighs or my knees as I allow my legs to come out to the side. So where you want the blocks is essentially to prevent your legs from to prevent your muscles from holding your legs up. So the higher you go, the higher it holds your legs up. Or if you're pretty flexible here, then you want the blocks a little further down the leg, closer to the knees. Once you arrive in this shape, adjust yourself and wiggle yourself so it feels nice and comfortable. And then you can place your hands on your belly, or you can let the arms rest down on the earth, palms up. So see what feels like a nice restful shape. And really make sure the props are supporting you. So we are going to do a separate Shavasana, so know that this is not the last shape that you'll be in. We will be extending the legs. But over time, the muscles begin to lengthen and they begin to relax more. So sometimes you want to adjust the blocks and move them down a little more, just adjust them so they feel just right. And make sure the head isn't holding any tension or the neck, and so you can gently move the head side to side in a yes/no motion, and then relax it in the center. See if you can really drop into this resting shape, this supported resting shape. Really drop in and let the props and let the earth and let your mat really hold your body. Giving your nervous system and your worry system and your brain the real signal that right now you are being supported and held, and you are in a space that you can relax. So we're going to just take a couple more breaths in Baddha Konasana. So really let gravity just invite you down. Invite those long inhales and extended exhales. And we're going to just move into Shavasana. And so you don't need to look at your screen or move very much. I want to just explain a few things and you can make your own choice. So I want you to, once you move out of bound angle, I want you to just be able to move with the least amount of muscle energy and effort possible. And you can just slide right into regular Shavasana, or you can play with using your props by bringing the blocks underneath your knees. So that's an option, is to support the knees. Another option is to support the head, like if it just seems like a nice shape for your head and neck to have your head lifted. Or a third option is to be in Shavasana shape and bring the block just to your abdomen, and then use your hands to gently hold the block to give a little bit of weight, which can just feel a little supportive. It also may not feel at all like something you want to do. And so those are 3 options to do. Or you can just slide, like I said, right into a simple Shavasana shape, corpse pose. And however you do it, really try to use as little energy as possible to find yourself in your final resting shape. So it's a practice to not just go with our default or kind of knee-jerk movements, but to move slowly and consciously. And then really adjust yourself so that as you're in this resting shape, there's not an unconscious part of you that's kind of holding up the whole fort or holding more tension than is actually necessary for the shape. Now begin to wake up the body just a little at a time. Seeing if you can keep that ease in the body as you begin to perhaps lengthen or move the props away. Can reach the arms overhead if you like, or you can just slowly roll to your side. Find a way to move that retains some of that sense of rest in the body and the muscles. And you can find your way to seated. If you like, you can just sit cross-legged, or if you'd like, you can sit up on your block, since we have them today. Bringing the hands to the lap and lengthening the spine and sitting back, taking our place on the earth at this moment. And bring one hand to your heart. And as you inhale, see if you can move that heart toward your hand. And as you exhale, allow the body to rest back. As you inhale, lifting the heart, expanding the heart toward the hand. And as you exhale, resting back. And then let's bring the hands back to both hands back to the lap. Taking a nice full inhale and a nice long exhale. And then opening our palms and really collecting in the nutrients and the goodness that you have gained just from being present in your practice with your body. And with that warming sense in your palms, let's bring the hands together and bow all the wisdom in our minds into the goodness and kindness and generosity of our hearts. Thank you for practicing. May you have a lovely rest of your week. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining me. Have a great hot weekend.
You too. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you. Drink lots of water.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night. Thank you.